What does it take to cut your own hair? Simply, as far as supplies goes, you need a hair clipper or buzzer, 2 mirrors at least, and something to catch the hair on the ground. I like to just use a large piece of paper that I can fold up and put away a lot easier. First off, I start with my beard and just trim that down as low as I can, and I use a straight edge razor otherwise to cut off any hairs during my neck and on my upper part of my cheek. So I get that part out of the way first, and at that part you can kind of migrate up to any sideburn areas and then to the sides of your head. You're also going to need a vision of how you want your hair to look, and with this vision is understanding how your hair reacts to different weather, or how much it's going to puff up later on, or what your hair is going to do. So for me at least, I know that I have really puffy hair, so I trim my hair a little bit shorter than you might imagine, so then when it puffs up later, it's to the length that I wanted it to be at. But everyone's hair is going to be different, and that's not something I can explicitly tell you through this video, so there's a lot of trial and error that goes along with cutting your own hair. And that's another part of what it takes, is being willing to spend a lot of time getting to know what happens when you do certain things to your hair, and that practice will translate into a better looking haircut over time because you're learning. It definitely takes at least a year of practice, I would say, depending on how often you're able to cut your own hair, because oftentimes you cut your hair and then you wait a while, depending on who you are and how often you need your hair cut. You're not going to get as much practice as you would as learning any other skill where you can keep doing it over and over every day. This is a skill that, especially when you're cutting hair on yourself, you can't learn super quickly because you don't get as many opportunities. So if you want, sometimes you can just try and maintain the length your hair is when you return to cut it, and you could try and cut your hair every week if you really want to speed up the process and get more practice in. But over time you will get better, and it's a lifelong skill, so just be aware that you will have to sink in a good amount of time before you start getting the type of results that you want. So you really got to commit if you want to cut the hair that you want to have. So there's definitely a willingness to be, a little out there with your starting haircuts, because you can definitely make mistakes and you can botch your haircut for sure. So you have to have that willingness and prowess to push through your starting haircuts. This is really the point where, unless you're going for the exact style of haircut that I'm going for, you may be branching off and doing something different. So I would recommend looking up barbers doing similar haircuts to the hair that you want, and then mimicking that in your own style. Or you can always go with the classic undercut. It's a very simple style to do, and that way you can learn all the motions of cutting your own hair, and you don't have to do anything super strenuous or any crazy techniques. So I'm starting at the sides. I'm using a 1/8 inch trimmer on my sides here. I'm just flattening almost everything around except for the top part of my scalp. So I'm trimming all that down, and once I get all that knocked down, then I go and try and line up the back of my neck, and again, I can retouch on the sideburns. And the good thing about cutting your own hair is that you can always go back and readjust things to how you want. And always remember, sometimes it's best when you're starting out, especially, to start at a higher guard level, and then you can move down to a lower guard level once you want to see the actual length of your hair and how that reacts to being trimmed at different levels. One other minor thing that you will have to learn when cutting your own hair is how to move your hands in a mirror, and how to challenge depth perception when you're looking in a mirror as well. If you're trying to shave the back of your neck or something, or you're trying to use scissors to trim the top of your head, there are different aspects of looking into a mirror that makes all your movements much more difficult. And this is also a skill learned over time. So if you give up too early, if you give up before a year is over, then you're at a point where you're still not getting too many opportunities to fully learn. So you do have to sink in a lot of time in order to really start getting results when you're cutting your hair. And so once you got how the sides are looking, how you want, you can go and adjust the top. Now, I don't have any scissors with me, any proper hair cutting scissors at least, so I just bring out the buzzer and I pull up any hairs that I want lopped off, and I can adjust those little bits. And I know that these are little problem areas for me because I know how my hair looks after it has dried out of the shower and what pops up and what looks a little bit funny after time. So the more you get experience with your hair, you can address these little problem spots that you know will come up in the future in your everyday life. So you can tailor the haircut how you need due to your own experiences with your own hair that most oftentimes a barber wouldn't really get that first person experience. So that's another little asset to cutting your own hair that is really beneficial for understanding what's happening next in your hair process, your hair journey. And then after you cut the top, you can reevaluate and retouch up anything else you want. And sometimes for me, cutting my hair, especially if I'm kind of translating to something a little bit different, can be like a 2 or 3 day process. I can see what my hair looks like, and then I can wash my hair, and then the next day I can see how my hair settles, and then I can make any adjustments after that. And you can always go back and readdress how your hair is looking, and you can zero in on the final look if you're not confident to do it all at once. And sometimes it's best to wait a little bit so you can see exactly how your hair is going to settle in after a regular day or after you wear a hat or something like that. So you can play with different variables, and you can use your knowledge of first-person experience to change and alter your hair how you need. Cutting your own hair isn't always easy, but there are plenty of reasons why I do it and plenty of reasons why you should do it as well. One of the first reasons, of course, is saving money. A nice pair of clippers only costs $60, and if you compare that to a haircut that's $20 each time, then after 3 haircuts, you're already going to be paying yourself back. On top of that, cutting your own hair is really convenient. You can cut your hair whenever you need, if it's before a trip, or you can even pack your own barber with you for the trip, and you can cut your hair whenever you need. If you're not going to be out for somewhere really long, then you don't have to worry about going to the same barber every time. On top of that, you can take a shower right after you cut your hair. I know for me at least, my hair just kind of sits back in and resettles in after it gets trimmed, so I really like to wash everything out. And I know not every barbershop does that. And you can also cut your hair almost exactly how you have it in mind. Of course, you may not have all the skills immediately when you start cutting your hair, but you can learn over time how you want to cut your hair, what your hair does, and how it reacts in certain ways when you're cutting it. So getting to know your hair better and how to deal with your hair comes along with becoming your own barber. And on top of that, there's the consistency factor. You don't have to worry about who's going to be in the barber shop, or if your mom is half awake, if she's the one who cut your hair, or whoever. You always be there for yourself when you need to cut your hair. So there are a lot of benefits for being your own barber, and being there for yourself is really crucial, especially when it comes to your hair. I hope everyone gives themselves a chance to try and cut their hair in the future. Cutting your own hair is a really fun, creative challenge, but also a good way to save money and express yourself how you want to be seen, and not through the lens of someone else doing work on you. So, thanks for watching, everyone, and I will catch you all later.